Hey everybody, welcome back. Last time on our temple here, we started on cutting all this up, making our stairs. We haven't glued anything yet or textured, but thinking in this video, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make some columns, and then remember over here, we're going to maybe add a fountain and potentially a fountain on the other side at the same time. So I went ahead just to prep for this, and I cut a whole bunch of these that are just 1 by 1 by 3 to cut up to use as our columns. Then, if you see over here, and I'll try to just kind of set these on the side, close up here. Sorry, I'm working on getting better tripod for my camera, but right now I have to kind of hold it, so hopefully you don't get sick. As you can see, I just sat down and I drew all kinds of different shapes. Some like this, which were really stupid and terrible. Some like this one. And I think for me, the winner's this. So what I'm going to do is we're going to cut these guys up first. Okay, so the first step we're going to do to cut this guy up, as you can see, I drew a bunch of full horizontal lines anywhere like right here or right there where there's going to basically be a change in the cross section. So we're going to treat this just as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different parts. And actually, I think the top and the bottom will be the same. So really, it'll just be 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So let's move on over to the Proxxon and get cutting. All right, so now what we've done here, and again, it's kind of hard to see the wire, I agree, but we're gonna just kind of cut this guy down. I think what I'm gonna do is make it just a little thicker than I drew it. So we're just gonna cut basically this off every single edge. So it's gonna require 4 cuts to make it the right size. So we'll do this one. We'll come back and cut the other side. And then the important thing is we come down and we get this side. And this side. Now we're left with a much thinner column here. Originally I cut these two pieces separate, the base and the top, but I think what I'm going to show you is just by moving the Proxxon wire through the slit in the center of the guide, how you can actually make these more in just one piece like this without the need to have a seam there. So let's go ahead and I'm going to just cut all the tops off this thick on my columns, and then we'll show you how to cut the angles. All right, so you're going to set your wire up now, and hopefully you can see the wire. But basically, it'll be set for whatever curve you want, and then you'll leave a lip down here at the bottom so that you have a curve and then flat. So let's cut a few pieces and see what that's like. All right, here we go. Okay, now that we've cut all 4 sides, you can see here we got kind of a cool look. And let me grab one of these columns over here. And you can see we'll place it on there. Oops. Just like that. Sorry, it's kind of not square. There we go. Basically like that, the top and bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead now and cut all of the tops and bottoms. Now that we're done cutting the tops and bottoms, you can see we have 8 columns here. And in fact, we have 8 tops and bottoms that sort of look like a chocolate bar. So now that we got them put together, I'm just going to set them on the temple that we have so far and just kind of see what they look like. Now we haven't glued any of these together yet, so they just kind of sit on here, but you can see that already with just those simple columns, it really starts bringing this thing to life, and we haven't even gotten to start texturing and adding any other details yet. So let's go ahead and make a fountain now. All right, so we're going to try 2 different ways to doing a fountain. So first, we're going to do one that's 8-sided. So what I'll be using here is the shape jig, the Dungeons by Hand shape jig. So basically I grab this piece here that has 8 sides, and I grab the guide and I set it down here. And then I have my piece here that's got the 3 nails in it that I've already kind of pushed into the foam. And basically what I did was I want mine to be, what I'm thinking of is basically, if this makes any sense, is I just want these 3 corners because it's sort of a corner fountain, and then it would cut here and there. So it'd kind of be square with a face. And so for me, since I wanted to fit in a 3-inch square abouts, I'm going to want it to be about 6 inches. So really what I did is I just took my tape measure to the center of this, and I made it just a little less than 3 inches. So it'll be a little less in the end. And let's get cutting. I'm just going to set the guide on there because it's kind of hard at first to find. And I'll get it kind of locked on here. And the really kind of big unruly piece, we'll just have to kind of turn it on till, there you go, till the guide's straight. And then we'll slide it through. Now, after looking this, my math might have been a little wrong, so what we're going to do is slide this out of the way. We'll put this here, and we'll just kind of put this corner together and kind of take a look. I want this to go here, and so I think I actually need to cut about another 1/2 inch off of all edges. So let's put that out of the way. And here's the beauty of this. In order to do that, some of these scraps out of the way. All we have to do is pop this guide up. And if I want to just get another 1/2 inch, there's kind of 2 ways we can do it. We can either measure it, or I can just kind of set this here and we slide it down and eyeball it. So I think, yep, right there. Let's give this a shot. Let's cut this and we'll try it again. Okay. One way I think we can do this really quick is actually to take this tape measure, and I want from that corner to this edge to be 3 inches. And it actually looks like it's about 3.5. So I think what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and cut another maybe 3/8 off of here. Sometimes these things are just a little bit of trial and error. So let's take this, pop it up, and just do this one more time. So let's double check, and there we go. In fact, it is 3 inches. So I'm going to just go ahead and pull this off, put it back over here into my little storage rack. So that, and let's get our guide out. And so what we're going to do with the guide is we're going to cut it off right where this angle meets that point. So we'll get it lined up kind of right there. Okay, and we're basically going to cut off, let me just mark it here. So you'll see we're going to kind of have a line here. This area is going to go, and then we'll have a line here, and this area will go. And that way that kind of that curved area there will become our fountain. So let's cut it off. All right, so we got our knife curve section. Let's see how it fits on the board here. Sorry, there's kind of lots of junk on there, but should fit right in here. Oh, the size is perfect. So the size will fit really good here. Oh, I did forget that we cut that down a little. So now that we're here, and actually it looks like we need to cut this back maybe to right here, let me show you a trick. Okay, so let's set this over here. Let's come back to our guide, Proxxon, and instead of needing the shape jig, now that we've cut all the faces down, we can actually just come right in here and we'll cut them directly. So we'll just go like this. We'll do 3 quick cuts. And this is maybe what we should have done the first time to reduce the number of cuts we needed to make. Let's take it and we'll place it on here one more time. And boom. Fits absolutely perfect. So all we need to do now is turn it into a fountain. Okay, so to turn this piece into a fountain, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of cut some layers and do different stuff. So the first thing I want to do is sort of make the top of the fountain. So what I'm going to do is just kind of slice off, I don't know, kind of just a thin layer here. And that will become our top. So we'll cut that off. Okay. You'll see it's just a thin piece here. And that will become our top. And we still obviously have to trim back some of this, but we'll do that at the end. Now we're going to do the same thing we did before, because in a fountain, it's not like you want it to be stacked like this all the way. You want it to kind of be set back like this. So almost like there's stones on top. So what we'll do to get that effect is actually just we'll make this smaller. So we'll cut each face again, make this thinner. Okay, and then we'll slice another layer. And actually we'll do this twice. Okay, and what I forgot to mention is you can see this layer has some holes in it from the shape jig. And what you want to do is when you cut the top layer, you make sure it's the layer with no holes. Okay, so now when we set these sort of square to one another, we're getting a nice shape like this. So basically they'll be able to sit like this. Maybe we'll make these into some different sort of brick pattern, and then this will be flagstones sitting on top. So now let's take a look at how we want to cut the inside out. To get our flagstones, we're going to obviously want these to be different pieces. So what I've done is I just have this kind of scrap piece of wood here from around, and I'm just going to use it as sort of a block to just make some lines that are offset to the face. Okay, so just draw the line here. And the reason I'm doing it on the side that's going to be the bottom is because with these, I'm just pushing a little indent to try and make it so when I cut them, it's easier to follow the line. See, now you can see we got this. So if you imagine, when we do connect these, it'll look like we have some various flagstones sitting on top. And so what I'll do with this is I'll get out my knife here. The easiest thing to do is actually just use this straight edge, and I'll go this way. And I just cut right where okay, so I just kind of scored it using the straight edge. Some people are better at freehanding, so maybe freehanding's for you. I'll show you here, and that's kind of why we indented it a little, so the knife follows it better. So do that, and then it's just the last one. And the beauty is, since you're doing this on the bottom side, even if you overcut it a little by accident, no one will ever see it because it basically is inside the fountain. Okay, so now we've cut that, and look, see, we have a very nice top. And the nice thing is now, since we have our blade out, what we want to do is really just take from one corner to the other corner. We'll just make a little slit. And then also from this corner to this corner, we'll also make another slit. And now you see we've kind of marked out our flagstones, and what I like to do is just take this knife, or not knife, pen, and you see I just make a nice indent there. Also a dull pencil works really well. I'll probably have to go back with that because this doesn't really push out the foam very much, but you can get the idea. And then you'll just continue that line down the front like so. And now you have the front of your fountain. To do the bottoms, it's very similar. So you'll take these two pieces, and instead of making this the entire length, because that would be too big, because remember, again, this is gonna sit back under here. What I like to do is just kind of look from the side and see what size I think bricks would be. So I'm just gonna put them about that big. And now the nice thing is, you just take your little straight edge, and the best part is if this line isn't super straight, nobody will ever see it. So make a straight line. And again, we'll just take that dimension, make it about the same over here. Yep. Okay. And then you just kind of make a guess over here. And you can always take a look, and if something looks off, adjust. And then we just cut it as well. Now we'll use this piece to mark our bottom piece. And now we have two layers here with this layer here. And this, if you line up the ends on both sides, the fountain will kind of look like this. So you'll see there's like a leg, and it will just sit in there. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like on our big base here. Okay, so the first and easiest things to do is just make these two square. You just push these guys, we'll hold this where it goes, push these into the corner, and you'll set this on top. Look at that fountain. It looks very nice. It's got a cool undercut to it. And what we'll do is once we glue all this together and texture it and get everything good, is we'll take, in the final phase when I go to paint this, we'll pour a little bit of resin in there too to give us the look of water. So now we got that one. Let's give it a shot and try to make a different type of fountain over here. All right, so fountain number 2. I think we're gonna try to make a circular fountain. So what it is, I just got another scrap here of XPS. I just broke it off of something. And what I'll do here is I'm gonna take the circle jig that I have. Now for this one, again, it's gonna be in a corner, so it's gonna be 1/4 of this So what I really want is a 6-inch circle. So I'll just line the wire up with the 6-inch mark here. And I'll take this guy, which basically goes in here and it just slides back and forth. And what this allows you to do is put your foam on, get it ready, and then turn it on, slide it in, cut a circle, and then slide it out after, and then turn it off. One thing I've done to just kind of make this a little more, this action like very slick as opposed to any sort of catching, is I actually took a few pieces of packaging tape and I just applied them to the bottom. So it gives it just a little bit of thickness there. And what that'll do for you is it'll make it slightly higher than the actual bed itself, just a very little bit. And that packaging tape will just allow this to slip like crazy. So now that we have this on 6 inches, let's take our chunk here and let's make sure it's actually gonna be big enough for us. So it is. So we'll mark it here, put the 6 inch in a little so we're not cutting it perfectly 6 inches. Let's make a mark at 3 and we'll just double check our mark. Okay. And then here's the nice part about using this jig is you can take this on that X and you just take the pin, push it in. And now what you can do is get that slid right in there. And you see when we turn it on, it starts to cut in a little bit on the foam, but the nice thing is that's not really where our circle's going, so we don't care too much. So we'll go like this, then we'll actually slide it over, and then we'll cut ourselves a circle. Now, one thing that's very important with this is don't go too quickly, because with a circle, if you go too quickly, you'll pull that wire, and if you pull the wire, it won't end up being a full true circle because the wire will be stretched kind of a weird angle. So we're getting closer here. As we get close to the end, what we're gonna do is we're gonna wanna push it this way once we get to the end. And so we got there and we just kind of come away. Now we're able to turn it off. And what that does for us is now we have a, instead of that kind of that weird mark that you get, you can see the circle is perfect. You know, very nice, just like what you would expect. So now we have our 6 inch circle. Let's go to the cutting guide. Pop this out. Put it over here. Oops. Okay. Put the guide down. And what we're going to want to do, and if you watch the other section, is we want it to be less than 3 inches. So we'll make this one 2 3/4. Push this in. So now when we cut this, it should cut it pretty straight. Now, one thing that we can do, if you want it to be perfectly square, is if we saved this, we can actually put our circle back in here. All right, now it's gonna be just a little bit different on each side, but it's one trick to get it so that you can cut an exact square out of this circle. So what we'll do is I'm gonna take the circle and we'll flip it over since I already have a center mark there. Okay, and I will measure from the edge of this to my circle. So that's 3 1/4. Okay. So let's reset this to 3 1/4. Okay. And actually, as I'm thinking about this, we'll go for it. So we're just gonna cut it right here. We're gonna cut it until it gets just a little past the center and then we'll stop. Okay. So we'll go from here. We'll just come right in like so and stop. We'll slide it out. And here comes the best part. All you gotta do is take it and turn it 90 degrees. And the easiest way to make sure you've done that is, since this side is square, you put your framing square on here. You slide it down until that line is perfectly along the square. And now technically, let's turn it just a little bit more. Now technically, when I cut this, we should be cutting one square out of the pie. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. And now that we've done this, we should, right there, we should have a square piece. Let's take a look how we did. Ooh, see? Didn't come out too square. But don't fret. The best plans don't always work. So I think what we'll do is, instead of doing that again, I will just use this square and my Ulta knife, and we'll just run a mark right here. So let's move this out of the way so I don't cut my finger off. And we'll just run it right along there. Get a nice score. Okay. And we'll just okay. The beautiful part is, if you remember before, the only section we really need perfectly square is just going to be the top and right here. All right, everybody. Well, sorry, the last section here. It looks like I accidentally picked the wrong setting on my camera. But basically what I did was I took that half circle or quarter circle we had. I trimmed it down to get kind of a top that'll basically go right in here like that as a fountain top. And then I cut all these little bricks here, which you'll see they're basically the same thickness as my top, and then doubly as wide. Now with bricks, it's really important to make them double wide, because as you work with them, if you want them when you lay them this direction to then fit when you kind of offset them without it being too weird at the end of your runs, you kind of want, let's see if when you put them together like this, you really want that ratio to make it good. So what I'm gonna do, I'll come back here in just a second, is I'm gonna go take a foil roller. I'm gonna put texture on everything here, and then I'm gonna use a hot glue gun, and I'm gonna glue it all down. And then we'll get to see kind of what we have here as a final thing. And the next video I make, we will go through and we'll prime and paint the entire thing. Okay, so we just finished gluing everything together here. Each one of these columns, they come loose. You can see I took a roll of aluminum foil and I textured them. And then I just glued them together with a hot glue gun. That's pretty much what I glued everything on here with. Let's see if I can get in here real detailed for these fountains. So this fountain you'll see down below, I just sketched in various bricks on those two strips that we had, and that one will be good to go. And then on the circular one, I did have to trim the top to fit in here, but you'll see what I did is I built the bottom out of our actual bricks that we made. I just glued those right to the bottom of the top and then glued it on as one assembly. And now this thing is ready to paint. We will continue our next video to complete the painting of all these. So until then, happy crafting, and we'll see you next time.